Outside the Box Reviews, Giant Monster Mania. We're taking a look at the Bandai GD56 Chogokin Mechagodzilla 1974. And this is Mechagodzilla as he appeared in Terror of Mechagodzilla. So the second version of the 70s Mechagodzilla. It gets so freaking confusing because the 90s one's often called Mechagodzilla 2, but this was the second Mechagodzilla because it's technically a different Mechagodzilla. So whatever. It's 70s Mechagodzilla. It kind of covers both versions from the 70s. And this is a new line for me. I hadn't picked up any Chogokin figures before. They do a whole wide array of different robots. They've even done other Mechagodzillas and a variant of this figure in a bright shiny silver. And while they're not quite in scale with Monster Arts figures, they're kinda close. So I thought I'd go ahead and pick up this Mechagodzilla and see if he could work in my collection. For accessories, Mechagodzilla comes with space titanium. Of all the random things you can give as an accessory, comes with, well, it's just a piece of die-cast metal, but it's supposed to be space titanium. It's got a little dent in here and some interesting little shape to it. Kind of a cool add-on, completely unnecessary, but cool. The sculpt on the figure is beautifully done. You can see there are rivets all over the head of Mechagodzilla here. The eyes are a nice orange. He's got the red little ear caps. I love all the sculpted detail. I love the little nostrils on here, all of his little metallic teeth. We look inside the mouth, we can even see little rockets in there ready to go off. This is a very, very cool looking head sculpt on this figure. Go around the back, you can see the spines. The head will actually unpeg, and then we could pop on this alternate version that's used for flying mode. So now he's in total flight mode with his head looking straight up. Very similar to something we have with Monster Arts where they do the same kind of idea. Same great detailing on the face here, even the same jaw articulation, because I know I'll forget that later. But really cool that we get flight mode, and then we can pop this head off, and we can put on the brain, because in the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, we see Godzilla rip Mechagodzilla's head off, and that ends the fight, but in the sequel, they added this under brain thing. There's a whole giant story about that I won't get into here, but it means after Godzilla rips Mechagodzilla's head off, he can keep going. This is some great detail as well. It's a nice gold plastic. The detail even goes down into the base of it. We have kind of the red visor there, I assume it's saw out of, and then this translucent brain piece up here at the top. Very, very nice touch for this figure. We got the neck, we have the little vent here, which I assume is what the actor saw out of. More rivets all over. This isn't the shiny chrome version, but it has a very, very nice silver plastic to it anyway. So I honestly would rather have this than the shiny one. I imagine this vac metallized looking one would probably leave fingerprints all over it, and this guy looks just fine in the silver. Here we have one kind of odd looking spike back here, which we'll get into why that exists in a minute. Coming down, we have the proof that it is from Terror of Mechagodzilla. We have the MG2 on his arm as opposed to just the MG from the original. I love the kind of hose pipe arms that the figure had, the joints that they couldn't really do anything more complex than doing these kind of hosy looking areas. And then here for the hand, we have a very cool looking hand covered in little missiles. Now this is a rubberized hand, which is a little interesting. This figure mixes normal plastic, rubberized bits, and die cast in parts. But we can actually pop this hand off, and we can replace it with a piece that's missing the missile tips. So you can make it look like Mechagodzilla's fired off all of his finger missiles and is waiting to reload. Torso of this figure continues the same great detail. More rivets all over. He has a little panel here on his chest that will flip open, and you have the little recessed laser beam in there. I almost feel like in the film this moved down lower. I haven't had a chance to go back and rewatch Mechagodzilla, but I thought this actually flipped open almost all the way, if not all the way. So it's a little odd that it doesn't really open that much, but it still looks really cool. I love that they really recessed that piece back in there, just like in the movie. Now here on the back, we do start getting into the downside of this figure. He has a lot of screws that are very visible from the back. Still have great detail with the fins and everything, but there's big, big holes showing you where all the little screws holding this figure together are. A little disappointing, but it's on the back of the figure at least, and less visible than they would have been otherwise. Down here where the legs come out, we have more of that kind of dryer hose look. Come down to his knees, we have the missiles on his knees as well, which are actually detachable, so you can pull these right off. Be careful not to lose the little tiny piece, but it will look like he fired off his knee missiles. Very cool, clunky legs. Now these bottom shins here, I believe, are the die cast. I think it's the only die cast on the figure. It's the only piece that's particularly cold to the touch, so I'm going to just assume that's the only die cast here, but looks very nice. Then we have his Mechagodzilla feet. It almost looks like you could unpeg the toes to make it look like these missiles have shot off as well, but they don't really want to come off, and I don't want to force it, and I don't remember being in the instruction manual, so I'm just going to leave them alone. Then here on the back, we have his tail, which looks really nice. All the cool little shapes on here coming off to the vent at the end. I kind of wish that hole would have been a little deeper to give the illusion of the jet back there, but still a very cool looking tail. For articulation, Mechagodzilla has a hinge here at the jaw that will open and close. No articulation up and down in the neck, but of course we have a separate head for that. The head will swivel left and right, but you can hear that distinct clicking sound, and that's because that spine back there on the back, you can press, and his head will rotate. Now you do have to press it quite a bit. It doesn't spin all the way around in one rotation. It takes about 3 clicks to get it to do past 360 degrees. But it's a really cool gimmick. In the film, this was used to power a force field around Mechagodzilla, and it's just a neat gimmick to have here on the figure and very appropriate. Here at the shoulders, they're on a ball joint, so they will go forward and back, as well as a little up and down, not really out to the side much, but the joint looks like it should be a double ball joint. It can kind of move more, so it would fill up that gap, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems to be able to do this limited little range here. We have a swivel at the bicep, a great joint at the elbow. It looks a little weird when you have it in extreme positions, but it has a really nice 90-degree range of motion. We have a swivel at the wrist, which is all the suit could really do anyway, all the character could do, so don't need more than that. We have a swivel at the waist, which is really nice and smooth. The legs will go forward and back, as well as a little out to the side on a great ratchet joint because of the die cast in there. We can swivel as well as bend at the knee. However, not much bend at the knee. Just kind of just 2 clicks and a little bit forward, a little bit back. And then a very nice ball joint here at the foot, so you can swivel side to side as well as move forward and back and pivot with it. And then here at the tail, we have a few different joints that we can use to straighten it out more or have it go up, and it will do a little bit of side to side motion as well. For a size comparison, here's Mechagodzilla alongside the Bandai Creations Godzilla 1968 and the Bandai Tamashii Nations SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1964. And you can see he towers over the 64 figure, which is a little on the short side anyway, but he's in pretty good scale with the Bandai Creations figure. And granted, the 68 isn't the right suit design for this, but it's the closest I had to the correct suit for it to go with this figure. And to swap in a couple more Bandai figures, these are the Japanese Bandai. We have the King Caesar on the left and the Anguirus on the right. And once again, I feel like Mechagodzilla fits in with these guys pretty darn well. Here he is with the very awkward Bandai Creations Mechagodzilla from the 70s and the SH Monster Arts Rebirth Godzilla. So the normal Monster Arts figures are closer to being in scale with this guy, but still a little short. And here he is next to the Monster Arts Super Mechagodzilla and the Kiryu. And I wish this figure was maybe about an inch shorter, because he would be a perfect addition to the Monster Arts line. He's really, really cool looking. And for the awkward design that it has pretty good articulation. I love the die cast in it. He's a nice hefty figure. I love how many gimmicks he has. He has the chest laser. He has the 2 alternate hands with the missile fingers missing. He has the kneecaps that come off. He has the head spin gimmick and then 2 other heads. It's freaking crazy and I love it. If you're looking for a 70s Mechagodzilla to add to your Monster Arts collection, unfortunately, he's not a perfect fit by far. He's definitely way too tall to really fit in. But if you're just looking for a badass Mechagodzilla figure, this is a really great one. I waited on this figure for a long time because I much prefer the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla to Terror of Mechagodzilla. Somehow this stuck in my head as being an inferior figure because I felt it was from an inferior movie, and I already knew it was a little too tall for Monster Arts. But as far as a action figure goes, I have had so much fun with this piece and just absolutely enjoyed the hell out of it since it arrived at my doorstep. So a very strong recommend for this figure. Make sure you check me out on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also follow me on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.